A stimulus check between $1,200 and $2,000 is what the president would likely agree to. That's what we learned today. But after learning of that, we saw what happened in the House of Representatives. Late tonight, the House of Representatives, dominated by the Democrats and led by Nancy Pelosi, decided what ultimately is not something that anyone would like. They passed an extension for the CR. Extension of 1 week. Now, it's not law yet. They've not officially extended it by act of law. It now lands in the Senate, where Mitch McConnell has to decide whether he wants to extend it for 1 week as well. And ultimately, then the president has to sign it or veto it. But, strangely enough, Mitch McConnell, after news that the House had extended it for 1 week, said, you know what, today we saw what the Democrats have done since July. All they have done is delay and refuse to give you stimulus. The question is why they couldn't get it done. Today started with other great news as the introduction of a rent stimulus, a rent eviction moratorium, and a mortgage forbearance was introduced by the Democrats. Great news, but also questioning about the timing again. Because Joe Biden, not today, but nearly 7 days ago, urged the Democrats to put those provisions in, and they did nothing. Until today, the final day in which you could really get a deal done, it was introduced. So why did they introduce it at the last second? To slow down the process? Meantime, why can the White House not get a clear messaging about what they want to do? Steve Mnuchin in the last 24 hours has changed his story no less than 3 times. Mitch McConnell has been associated with a deal from the White House that is not something he agrees upon. And the White House started this whole process with Mitch McConnell saying that they were going to work as a team, and now it's McConnell versus Trump once again, circa July 2020. Everyone's agreeing not to agree. The only thing that we can figure out is, where's that money from states? States have stepped up and sent out massive stimulus across the board. Stimulus checks, extended benefits, and free rent. Meantime, organizations are giving out free Christmas gifts to those families who can't get Christmas gifts during the holidays. It's all incredible great news. I have so much for you tonight amidst the chaos in Congress. I'm ensuring that you get money, and I have the money ready for you tonight. So let's get to it. And this is Evenings LALATE. Hey, good evening, everybody. It's Evenings LALATE, and boy, what a night it is. It is a night in which we learned that the House of Representatives do not want you to have a stimulus check before Christmas because they just passed an extension. But ultimately, that may not become a law. It may not work because Mitch McConnell may reject it or the president may reject it. Meantime, I'm getting viewers thousands of dollars around the clock. So please subscribe, because in this recording, I'm going to show how you can get thousands of dollars, free gifts during the holiday season, food, and more. Ultimately, the power of this channel, the power of the volunteers, the power of you, and the power of this recording is ensuring that you get money, food, gifts, and more from local, state, and city during this holiday season right now, not 5 weeks from now, not 5 months from now, because of this incredible, powerful medium as Congress makes a debauchery of itself. So please subscribe. Also, like this video. In this video, I'm going to go over why we started with such incredible great news today, but why the great news came too late, and then ultimately the great news may have derailed the situation. The great news was $1,200 to $2,000 stimulus checks. The great news was a rent grant. The great news was an eviction moratorium. The great news was a mortgage forbearance. And the great news was the support of all those provisions from the most powerful people involved. The question is, why was this brought up so darn late when we all knew we had to have these things in no less than 7 to 10 days ago? The fact that they were brought up so late is why the House of Representatives late tonight rushed to do an extension, because they said we can't make it by the deadline. Things are being brought up too late. With that, Let me get to the breaking news. The breaking news as you start tonight is that there's a mixture of really great news messed up with people who seem to not be able to keep track of their calendars. I have been telling you for over 7 days that the CR deadline is December 11th. That's this weekend. But they had to get it done by about today because things are done about 2 to 3 days in advance. Well, you would think that if you were logical, you would include everything you want to include 7 days ago when we started these talks about the CR. If you want something, and say it then. Don't keep your mouth shut and don't say and stay quiet in a corner until the 7th day at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and say, surprise, I want all these things. That's what happened today. Everything that you should have gotten that you wanted, I wanted, Joe Biden wanted, and most of the Democrats in the Senate wanted, no one said anything about them until late in the day today at the 11th hour. And then when suddenly everyone said them, they said, oh, we need an extension, it's too late. Let me go over what's happening. The President of the United States today was confirmed, his details of his conversations were Representative Josh Hawley would detail throughout the day. Senator Josh Hawley is a Missouri Republican, and he speaks with the president about every single day and has been speaking with the president since this weekend. And during speaking with the president, he has urged the president to veto it if there's no stimulus bill check in there, and veto it if there's not enough of a stimulus check. Hawley told news several times in the last 24 hours that the president is likely to urge a $1,200 to $2,000 stimulus check in this proposal, and that he believes, Hawley, that the stimulus check that the president will pigeonhole is $1,200 to $2,000. Meantime, later in the day, we learned that an eviction moratorium was introduced in another proposal, and another proposal introduced a mortgage forbearance. Really good. The question is, why did it wait so long to get in there? And then rent aid, an aid that would give you rent. Meantime, how many proposals are we up to? Let me just make it clear. I can't keep track. It's not 3. It's clearly about 5. So how many proposals are there? The news reports simply just don't even want to talk about how many proposals it is because no one can keep track of it. In fact, no one can keep track of whose proposal is really whose proposal at this point. And ultimately, some people are trying to associate things with Mitch McConnell. No, Mitch McConnell has only his proposal, the original $500 billion. He has not accepted or co-signed or agreed to any of these thousands of other proposals. Meantime, the Democrats in the Senate have simply made it very clear they're not going to agree to anything unless there's a $1,200 stimulus check. And the president has made it very clear that he hasn't made a determination about what the stimulus check amount will be, but that it would likely be $1,200 to $2,000. Then Steve Mnuchin made a mess yesterday by talking about stuff that the president doesn't agree to, that the president doesn't want, and that Nancy Pelosi doesn't want, and that the Republicans doesn't want. So why is Steve Mnuchin introducing himself to the conversation saying things that no one agrees to except himself? So where are we tonight? Just Lord. Where we are tonight is the continuation, the extension has to pass the House, the Senate, and have to be signed by the president. So far, it is only passed by the House. We don't know if it's going to be passed by the Senate, and we don't know if the president's going to sign it. It's really hard to tell, but Mitch McConnell was slamming the delays upon the Democrats all day long. So will he say no? 2 days ago, a report said he would say yes. Then, how about the stimulus check negotiations? The stimulus check negotiations have enough advocates saying $1,200 or more that it looks like it will never be less than $1,200. But there's a possibility it could be $2,000. And meantime, that $600 thing, hogwash. Doesn't look like it's ever going to see light of day. The only time the $600 came into the discussions was when Steve Mnuchin talked to Nancy Pelosi in a vacuum not supported by any Republicans on the Hill, talking by himself. The $600 is basically someone running his mouth in a conversation on the phone. That's all it really is. So then what about you? Well, your UI and PUA is still set to expire in just a few days. There's no relief. And then what about FPUC? Only one proposal has FPUC in it. I don't think it's going to last. I don't think the rent is going to last. And I do think the eviction moratorium, the mortgage forbearance, and the stimulus check will get in there. But then the bad news, and you know what I'm about to say, when would the stimulus check arrive? Well, if Mitch McConnell does vote for an extension and passes the Senate, and the president signs the extension, then the check would not arrive before the 25th. It's 10 days after it becomes law, December 11th. That's the deadline this weekend. 10 days after that, December 21. You would get the check before Christmas if they got this done today. They didn't. So now that they're extending an additional week, what does that put it at? 27th, 2 days after Christmas. So that's where we sit tonight. Meantime, what are states doing for you? States are doing God's work because states are doing incredible help for you. Private charities as well. If you're sitting and watching this recording, you're like, I'm really not happy with what happened with Congress. Well, time to turn that frown into a smile because there are stimulus checks coming out from your states. There is stimulus rent coming out from your states, cities, and counties, literally everywhere. And what I want you to understand is that if it's not coming out officially from your city or state or county, then it's coming out from private organizations. Third, there is utility grants, literally free utilities being offered across the board, across the country, in nearly every jurisdiction. Additionally, food grants are literally available everywhere. Free food, whether it's a debit card that has cash on it to go buy food, or literally food delivered, it's available across the board. Then Christmas gifts. Christmas gifts are available for your children if you're in a time of need from major organizations across the board. And so no one on this channel should feel that they are either hungry or in need of a gift or in need of rent or utility assistance because it's there. So how do you find it? First, well, I'm going to detail to you how you find it, but if you have problems finding it after I describe the situation, go into the pinned comments above and look for the word volunteers. It's in bright purple. I almost forgot. And click it. Click it. Click it. Oh, that's hard to say. Click it. It'll bring you to the community page. And on the community page, you'll see a list of volunteers. Those volunteers are there to help you. They're wonderful. This is what you can do if you do it on your own. You're going to go to your city hall and call them on the phone, your county hall, your state housing authority, your county housing authority. Call them and say, hey, do you have any rent assistance? Do you have any utility assistance? Then call utility companies. Ask if they have any utility assistance. And in the case of your utility companies, they generally all do. You want to say utility assistance, rent assistance for COVID. I'm having problems paying my bills because of COVID. But we're not done there. Oh no. Tune in every night to Purple Power Live, which is right after this recording. Because this is what I do every night. These are my notes. And yeah, it looks like chicken scratch because it sort of is chicken scratch. But I went live on Being a Mitch right before this recording, which is usually just for UI. And I simulcast on Instagram. Boy, what a great group of people you folks were. People were just jumping in the room saying, call this group. They're paying me money. Call this group. Someone in California said, contact this group in California. They're doing $2,000 to $3,000 stimulus in California. Another one saying, do this in Indiana. Do this in Kentucky. I forgot to bring my pen on set. But on Purple Power Live every night, I do have my pen on set because that's the show in which I go over city, state, and counties that are giving out free money from private organizations that are national known, well-known, 100-year-old nonprofits, and they are doing it. So if you've looked up North Carolina, I just don't find anything in North Carolina. Mississippi, I don't find anything in Mississippi. Kentucky, I don't find anything in Kentucky. Tune into Purple Power Live because that's the show where we share and share alike. Meantime, escalated benefits, yes. At $2,400 SSI and SSDI, yes. Hazard pay, yes. FPUC $600 a week, yes. So let me go over all those details. Ultimately, you know, people want to hear about what's happening now, but I also have to tell you what's happening shortly after this. What's shortly happening after this in January is the $2,400 SSI and SSDI. It's not now. I think you sort of know that because I've said it in enough recordings. So the $2,400 SSI and SSDI would come as a standalone bill, presumably in January, and it would be $200 a month every month to December of next year, and it goes on top of your weekly benefits. This is for COVID. Then you would get a lifetime increase upwards of 20% because Joe Biden believes you're behind on benefits you should have been raised over the years, and I agree 100%. Then he wants to tie you to a new benchmark. Thank goodness, because no one likes cola. Cola's a waste, and cola basically doesn't move. So you can go buy eggs tomorrow, and eggs go up to $20 a gallon, 20 eggs a dozen, and then it's like, oh, cola, we're gonna stay flat. What do you mean you're gonna stay flat? That's how cola acts, and so he wants to tie it to a new benchmark other than cola. Thank goodness. Then hazard pay, yeah, that would come in January. Did I say $20,000? No, upwards of $10,000, $13 an hour. But I don't know if it's going to last at that price tag if the GOP retains the Senate. EIDL grants, and all that more. Then escalated benefits. I want you to do escalated benefits if you qualify. If you made over $18,000 a year in 2019, do escalated benefits. Send your state a copy of your 2019 tax return. See if you qualify for additional weeks of benefits. You do not use the word escalated benefits when you contact them because they don't know that term. That's a term that you and I use, so you know what I'm talking about. You just say, hi, here I am. Do I qualify for additional weeks of benefits? Additional, more, extra. Use the simplest third grade words you could use. Do not use words like escalator or enhance or envelop or, persidian. Make simple words, please. And they will look at it. If you made $30,000 or more in 2019 and you've been unemployed for 30 plus weeks, you'll get approximately $10,000, bam, right in your account, retroactive, like raising your benefits about $300 a week. If you made $25,000 to $30,000, you'll raise your benefits about $100 a week, which will result in about $3,000, bam, right in your account. And then if you made about $18,000 to $25,000, you'll raise your benefits about $50 a week, which will raise your benefits about $1,500, bam, right in your account. Certify for benefits every week. Despite what's going on with Congress, certify, because the people who do not certify and wait because they're just pissed off by Congress will get paid last. Certify for weeks so that when Congress gets their act together, you're first in line to get the check out the door. Or get the first in line to get the check out the door that comes to you. Out their door to come to you. You know what I mean. Then EIDL. EIDL, get that on file if you want to apply. If you don't, then don't do it. But if you want to apply, get it on file because I don't think it's going to be around more than a week. I think it's just going to get shut down relatively soon or run out of money. And then you'll be like, meantime, join me on Purple Power Live coming up right after this broadcast in which I go over that big money from your city, states, and counties going across the board. Remember, rent is the big kahuna. You want the rent. The rent is $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. Then you want to do the utilities, which is several hundreds of dollars. Finally, if you get a stimulus check, if your state has one, then so be it. But don't put stimulus check at the top of the list because the stimulus check is usually not as big as the other things like rent, which is sometimes five figures, $10,000, $15,000, $12,000. Next, understand that tomorrow is going to be a hot mess, and today was a hot mess as well. So thank you for staying positive, staying focused, staying motivated. And finally, if you need assistance from the volunteers, reach out to them, especially if you need Christmas gifts or food as well. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, and stay valid.